Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands up for a very special address this afternoon by Mr. R. Arulanandan, the Director, SMD Agriculture, EP, Gems and Jewelry, Kimberley Process, Department of Commerce, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India.
Honorable moment for me to be able to participate. Thank you for inviting me. Friends, I would like to start from the event in 1971, which is a very watershed moment for our industry. That is when the dollar was delinked from the gold value. That was 1971. And we would remember that the price of gold at the time was around $35, just $35 per ounce. And today we are racing past 3,600, 3,650. So even if you take 3,500 and see the appreciation 100 times, I'm not sure that any other metal or any other commodity has risen to this level. Second significant milestone in gold is that about 7-8 years back, gold has surpassed platinum prices. And now platinum prices are at much less than 50% of gold. We all remember that in order to replicate platinum, there is a kind of white gold and all those stuff. Third thing that I would like to emphasize is whether gold can help secure your financial interest. And then let us see how it is going to be. So if you take, for example, we have been talking about gold monetization scheme and so many kind of interventions by government. Here something we should also look at how industry can self-regulate and make some innovative products and solutions for this sector. As somebody said, I don't know if I'm correct, 25,000 tons of gold is available in India at the least. And how do we make it a very productive asset? How is it possible? So can we think of something like that? Then how do we do that? One way of doing it is dematerialization of that. And dematerialization not necessarily should involve melting of the jewelry that people value it and then making it a bar. Can we find some solution in assessing the real gold content of whatever in the format it is already available and keep it in the same format and look forward for some solutions of trading and exchange ecosystem, how we can get it. This would also be a kind of insurance against financial downfalls and pitfalls for individuals as well as companies and trust and all those people. How is it possible in a sense that if you make gold, dematerialized gold, and then allow it to be traded, so that makes it a liquid asset, and then you will be in a position to encash that opportunity as well whenever you need. So in that, if you need start deliberating and thinking on that, a huge 25,000 tons of gold can come out and kind of make a big shift in our thinking. Then we are also talking about digital gold, and people also talk about the digital gold is not yet fully kind of institutionalized or regulated. I would like to ask one question to you. Do you really need regulations? And if so, why do you need a regulation? If you are confident enough and strong enough of your own self-regulations, and when we have seen the IT growth in India, was it a regulated growth? To my knowledge, it was unregulated growth. And we should actually be looking at a kind of trust-based, industry-based self-regulation. Government can step in later. So. Then the fourth thing within that is, when I'm talking about 25,000 tons, is it any other methodology to bring it as a productive asset? One way I'm thinking personally is, some of the exporters, they get either a direct duty-free gold or they also get to use the existing gold within domestic, within the nations, and then get duty drawback on that. So the expectation is that duty drawback rates should be aligned with actual custom duty on the date. So today there is a lag, there is a time lag, and the rates are not strictly aligned to people's expectation. But even then, with that gap also, there is a huge opportunity in this. So if we are able to utilize the existing gold and even use it for to an extent for exports, so that would also make it a productive asset. Then the next point here is very important point is that when talking about duty drawback, presently it is on a specific rate. And about 15 years back, the import duty was also on specific rate. Subsequently, it was changed to ad valorem. And now we have 6% on value of gold, not the quantity of gold. But however, in duty drawback, it is on quantity of gold, I believe. So we are working on it. Let us see how it goes about. And it must materialize. That is my faith. Okay, now in that I would also like to take you to the portion of that discussion that when we are dematerializing, when we are putting it in an exchange ecosystem, if the denomination is of national currency, then we have two disadvantages, slight disadvantage. One is inflation, second is exchange rate, vagaries of exchange rate. So then comes the role of exchange ecosystem that we have in SEZ that we have, that is IIBX, India International Bullion Exchange. So we should also look at how we are we able to peg the gold to a basket of currencies. We all know that presently we are undergoing a lot of the oft repeated sentences, geopolitical stress, geopolitical reasons. So by pegging it to a basket of currencies, we may actually end up reducing or subsiding the risk on inflation as well as exchange rate risk. So this should also make it more investment attractive for people within India and investors across the borders. So why I am saying, because we all know that India is the second largest consumer of gold in the world, or even you can say it is a top importer of gold in the world. So if we are a top importer, then what is our role in the entire pricing, discovery of prices, all those things? Some people say we cannot discover price unless we start exporting. I'm coming to that point as well. Then my third point of my presentation would be about the refining ecosystem that India is having. So presently, we are importing about 220 tons of doré gold. Out of the total, what we import, about 800 tons. And then if you ask me how much we are able to do refining in India, it is about 2,500 tons. So we are operating at about just 10% or less than our capability and our ability. So then what are the changes that we must look at, all of us must look at? The one suggestion coming from, I think, from the discussions today or yesterday from this event is that this is a custom notification 50 of 2017, which stipulates that the gold has to come from country of mining origin, and it has to be assayed by the laboratory in that country. So we are looking at it. Let us see how we make progress in that. Second thing is that how do we enable IIBX, GIFT IFSC for toll refining? And the answer is same. Then how do we utilize the excess capacity we have in the domestic refining ecosystem? If that is enabled, if the doré gold can be given across that is DTA area and you get it back, refined gold, and that is something we all must work on it. Third is that, fortunately or unfortunately, for historic reasons, Indian banks are not allowed, I'm not saying not allowed, they are not sourcing their gold from the Indian refiners. I don't know why it is happening. We need to understand it further. Whereas they are permitted to, they are given kind of what is that called? It's a restricted item, license they get, and RBI enables them. They are permitted to import gold outside India, any refiner or as well as bullion bankers, but so far they are unable to do it within India. So if that is enabled, that will make the ecosystem of gold trading within India ideal situation for all of us. How much we are exporting? You know, friends, that the world trade, the one-way trade, I mean either exports or imports, if you aggregate, it is 500 plus billion dollars. And India is importing about 40 to 50 billion dollars. But how much we are exporting? Even we are importing 220 tons of Dore gold, we are not exporting anything. So certain regulatory changes are required to be done. We are also working on that as well. Then my fourth point of my presentation will be understanding business practices and regulatory changes around us. And what comes to my mind immediately is three countries: Japan, Singapore, UAE. And when we study Japan model, people say it is because of a VAT that was imposed within the country. So from importing country, they become exporting country. Whatever may be the reason, but what happened is that in 10 years' time, their exports have increased fourfold, Japan's export. Then come to Singapore. Singapore, we learned that friendly regulatory policies are there. And that way, they have also come up, if you see their 2014 exports and 2024 exports, they have actually grown 17 times. From about 1 billion, now they are exporting 17 billion. And UAE model is even more interesting, that they have adopted UAE good delivery, Dubai good delivery. And then they are also importing from Switzerland. They are also able to export to Switzerland. They are able to export to Turkey, India, and see the volumes. It's massive volumes. It's about 56 billion today or 60 billion. And about 4 years back, what it was I think it was about 12 billion. So 4 times, 5 times they have grown. What it indicates is certainly all these things we must ponder and we must think about within and how do we make changes. Whatever required changes are needed, we need to work on that as well as. Often in our department, we receive many good suggestions. One suggestion is that the consumer expectation and consumer protection. So one suggestion we get is that, okay, when you go to jewelry and the value addition is very high, 18%, 22%. But whereas as per foreign trade policy, the value addition is 3.5% for a plain gold jewelry and maybe 6 or 7% for studded jewelry, and it is not certainly about 9% in any category. So there are suggestions that why don't we make it kind of aligned to FTA, and this is, since it is not a strictly mandate of Department of Commerce, must be Consumer Affairs should be looking at it, and we would be working on that as well. So that is one thing. Why I am saying this point is that you had 3,000 USD, now 3,600 USD, and have a 10% of value addition. So without doing anything, your value addition increases in line with gold prices. This is something we must ponder why we should not pass it on to the consumers. Then the sixth point of my presentation will be on hallmarking. So we have done extremely well in gold hallmarking. And the next expectation is on silver. And silver jewelry as well as silver articles. I was reading the conference paper of this very event of last year, where I understood that a token check or a survey by MMTC has done, I think. And they are saying the purity percentage was kind of 45% or 68%. And there are certain zinc and or lead as well as. Since I am talking about zinc and lead, there is certainly a need for all of us, an imperative for all of us, that why not we work on removing zinc and lead from our jewelry. But there are challenges, I understand. The imitation jewelry industry may not be ready for this immediately. We have a stiff competition from our largest neighbor. and where a lot of cases of dumping also has happened. And even we are putting a custom duty of about 400 rupees per kg. Even then, we have a skilled manpower, but however, we are not able to achieve the kind of thing we should be expected to achieve. Then seventh point is that there's a common control mark of, by the certain European countries, and we normally call it a Vienna Convention. So there were some movement we are seeing, and in 2016, India has adopted to that. I think certain more things, regulatory things needs to be done by BIS and Consumer Affairs, and we are pursuing the same. Yeah, my eighth point will be whether India is setting best practices, or whether the practices in India is at par or even better than other standards elsewhere recognized, to make it kind of this is like we know where from it is coming, where it is going, traceability, I mean, basically. In my sense, personally, I'm very convinced that the current regulatory approach within India, even when we are not having a express India gold delivery standard yet, and then when we compare it to LBMA and all, so I can say with confidence that with all this 50 of 2017, which though we are trying to make it simpler, but it certainly ensures that the source traceability is achieved the best in the world. I can say with confidence. India is one country where the source traceability is the best standards compared to any other country in the world. Why? Because we know from where it is coming, we know the size of bar, we know which lab is doing, and we know who is importing. He is certainly licensed and he is under restriction. So this we need to keep it in mind. The ninth point of my presentation is waste and scrap. When we talk about waste, waste is not only containing the jewelry waste. It certainly contains electronic waste. It certainly contains industrial waste. And in the days to come, what we will see is we have photovoltaic cell, PV cells. And for circuit, we use silver. So when those items go scrap, and there is a huge opportunity to kind of retrieve precious metals from them as well. So we know RAM, we have display units, we have PV cells, we have industrial waste. So we need to look at and develop an ecosystem in India. So before coming, I was studying this sector specifically, and the world trade is about 35 billion. And largely it is happening between Western countries to Western countries, Switzerland, the USA, Canada, Italy, and all this thing. India's imports is very minuscule. And there are import duties, I understand. But it's not only about import duty that whether a country can become a hub of refining. We know the experience of Alang in Gujarat, where the ship breaking industry is happening. So something akin to that, the gold scrap industry is a high potential area in our sense. And we all need to work on that as well. So if the import duty is anything an issue at DTA area, I would request IABX also, GIFT IFSC area and with the help of their regulator IPSCA, should also look into this aspect. It's a 35 billion industry worldwide. And this is across the nation trading is 35 billion. I am not talking about domestic capability. India is a huge country. How many computers we use, how much waste and scrap, I do not have estimate, but you can make a guess. Then 10th point is whether we can peg our import duty on accessible value. The biggest problem we are facing is that we bring an item, we don't know how much precious metal it consists of. So how do we declare it? Something we all need to work on that as well as because a realistic estimation of the metal content is needed for assessing the import value. And when I'm talking about accessible value for import duties, we must also think about the mainstream goods coming, like Dore is coming. In Dore, already the accessible value system is being followed. And often we hear about there are issues when FTA is then, when zero duties are there, people make use of it. I'm not calling misuse. People are intelligently using the route. all the time, sometimes it may not be in our national interest and we might be realizing it later. So if we make it import duty and accessible value, it is going to make a fruitful and meaningful impact for all of us. Friends, with this, I don't want to take your time. With this, thank you for the opportunity given, and I'm looking forward. Most likely, I'm intending to stay till the last event today. I would like to understand and hear from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In case we have any questions for him right now, we have time to take a couple of them. So yes, so we'll send a mic to Mr. Shivanshu Mehta.
I think two important areas which you've highlighted, we must as an industry take them up. The first one, you rightly said that banks in India currently, are they encouraged to pick up domestic bullion, to buy domestic bullion, to lend domestic bullion? On the one hand, we have the BIS, which has created in 2019 the IS 17278. And as an exchange, MCX also around that has built a good delivery standard, a good delivery norms document. And after due process of audit, 4 refiners are impaneled as on date. Now, if we have done that, if we have a regulated exchange, and if banks can be made to participate on domestic commodity exchanges at least, and pick up the gold which is transacted there, which comes under regulatory domain, I don't see why that should be a problem. This should be actively encouraged. I completely agree. And once this happens, it will take care of all kinds of disparities which prevail in the industry. Second point, quickly. So if we have custom smelters in copper, India does not have much of copper ore, but our custom smelters like Hindalco are so well developed. If we want to develop the Indian gold refining industry, if we encourage setting up in the gift city of such custom smelters who are tolling charges or refinery charges based, while we don't have, we will end up boosting this industry. We will also end up allowing that bullion to be transacted on the IIBX. So I wanted to seek your help and guidance on these two matters.
Already we are working on that second matter, and we have given certain comments to IPSCA and our SEC division as well as to DGFT. This is a good suggestion basically, and it's an enabler. So, and certainly a positive suggestion. We are already working on it. So it might take some time. Let's wait.
All right, final question, sir.
Regarding the permission for the domestic gold purchases by the domestic industry, so here the RBI regulation, doesn't permit the banks to buy gold locally. This is one. This is what I want to clarify. Secondly, domestic, the banks can buy domestic gold only against replenishment of the gold metal loans taken against the gold deposit scheme. So if the banks can borrow gold from the domestic, depositors, and they can lend it to the jewelers, that is permitted. And once it is repaid, then they can replenish it with the domestic gold. Otherwise, it is not permitted by the RBI. So we have to take it up with the RBI to enable the banks to take gold domestically and sell it in the market, with, whether it is on outright basis, or it could be on the basis of export basis, or it could be on the basis of replenishment or domestic or outright, either way, or on loan basis also. So basically, RBI has to enable this.
Thank you, Premnath. In fact, I must tell you one thing about Premnath is that he is indeed my guide. And always, every week I would give a call to him and ask me doubts and clarify. He always guides me. I'll continue to get guided by him.
Yeah, my pleasure, sir.
Thank you.